Marvel Cinematic Universe turns 10 years old this year. So, what are the 10 greatest moments in the MCU so far? Minus anything in Infinity War, of course. Movie fans, to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I thought today I'd count down the top 10 best moments in the MCU so far. However, I won't be doing anything from Avengers Infinity War, more or less to give those 5 people on Earth that haven't seen it a last chance to see it. Also, the moments that would be on this list, we'll just put somewhere like 2 or 3. We're going to have 1 per movie, so we're not going to see multiple movie moments from like a particular movie to give fairness to every other movie. Alright, without further ado, at number 10 we have a moment from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now by and large, Volume 2 was an okay Marvel movie. It wasn't bad, it wasn't nearly as good as the first. It was fine, but pretty forgettable, except for one moment in particular. The moment where Yondu dies. That was actually genuinely heartfelt and emotional, of coming off a very good moment with him of, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all, to the sad and tragic death of, he was actually the father figure for Peter Quill. The rest of the movie couldn't really live up to the standard of the first Guardians of the Galaxy in my mind. However, Yondu dying at the time was the only real significant and lasting death in the MCU that kind of stuck with us, and it was really emotional and heartfelt. At number 9, we have a scene from Captain America Winter Soldier, which is personally my favorite of the MCU movies to this date, when Winter Soldier is unmasked and revealed to be Bucky Barnes, in which case all the casual movie fans just go, ah! As if they didn't reveal it in the trailer, and all the comic book fans go, yeah, we've known, like smug little comic book fans that we all are. But that was kind of a big reveal if you didn't know the source material of who Winter Soldier was, and just Bucky turning around just like in the comics and going, who the hell's Bucky? It was just a really good moment of, oh, now Steve has to deal with this. His formerly dead best friend is now the dude trying to kill him. The Winter Soldier is now in the game, Bucky's back. What does the future hold for Bucky? And that actually is still kind of a question that's still being answered to this day. Will he be the new Cap after Avengers 4? Only time will tell. At number 8, we have one of the only real memorable things about Avengers Age of Ultron. To me, Avengers Age of Ultron was pretty disappointing, apart from one thing that almost didn't even make it into the movie. And that's when they all visit Hawkeye's family at the barn. I know some people had some issues with it. For me, it humanized Hawkeye and made him a much more interesting character. But not just that, it broke up the fast pace of the movie. It let us get time to just catch our breath, get reinvested with some characters. Granted, they shoehorn in some awkward romance with Black Widow and Hulk, but it was nice to just kind of breathe and relax. In a very bloated and just insane movie, it was nice to just catch your breath, be with human characters with Hawkeye's family that you can get behind. You just actually start to care about Hawkeye and go, okay, you have a family outside of your business of being whatever Hawkeye is. At number 7, we have the one scene from Black Panther above any other scene that really got me into the Black Panther movie. So Black Panther to me started off pretty slow until we got to the fight between T'Challa and M'Baku, more or less for the title of Black Panther. And whew, this was a good fight. You could tell just by the camera work and how it was shot, to just sheer physicality of this was a different type of fight than we had seen in any previous Marvel movie. It was intense, it was gritty, it was in your face. I liked it a lot. It was a really, really awesome fight. I just kind of like this whole concept of an honor fight of who wants the title of being king? And it was just shot different. It felt like a different type of fight to that point of, up till that point, the best choreographed fight I would say is probably the Winter Soldier and Captain America fight that I referenced earlier where Bucky gets unmasked. This took it to a whole new level, and I would love more hand-to-hand combat like we saw in that Black Panther fight, because that was awesome. Great job, Ryan Coogler. At number 6, we have a scene from Thor Ragnarok. Now, I can think of a lot of scenes from Thor Ragnarok. The arena fight between Thor and Hulk possibly being on the list. But there's one to me that stood out more than any other, and that's when Thor, spoiler alert, it's been long enough I believe, but I'll still put that out there anyway. Spoiler alert, when Thor gets his lightning powers and becomes the god of thunder on that bridge. When he comes down and the music kicks in, you're just like, this is wild and nuts and insane, and I love every minute of it. It was fantastic music. It was a great shot of him just descending on the whole swarm. It was just fantastic. At number 5, we have probably the wackiest and most fun entry on this list, the opening scene of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. Now, when this started to play, of like Star-Lord adventuring through this temple, as soon as the title card of Guardians of the Galaxy pops up on the screen, I knew without a shadow of doubt that this was going to be a very, very different Marvel movie, and I was gonna love it. The music fit perfectly. It was like Indiana Jones meets Risky Business with that opening scene of just someone dancing along, but also searching for treasure, and being fun, and wacky, and different. And that's essentially what the first Guardians was. Guardians of the Galaxy was just a breath of fresh air. And that opening scene set the tone so perfectly for the rest of the movie. Yes, you could probably put Baby Groot dancing to Jackson 5 on this list as like an honorable mention, but to me, this is what you're gonna get with this movie. It's gonna be a wild and fun ride like you've never seen before. It has to be the opening scene for Guardians. At number 4, honestly, this is probably the most emotionally invested I was in any scene, and that's absolutely my own bias that I brought into the scene, because it was the number 1 scene I wanted to see in a Marvel movie, more so than any other scene in any comic book movie, actually, if I'm being honest. And that is in Spider-Man Homecoming, when Spider-Man gets flattened by kind of like the big machinery or the building, whatever that is, and Spider-Man has to dig down deep within himself to lift it above his head. The reason I wanted that scene so badly in a Spider-Man movie is because that is ripped from a Spider-Man story that I remember reading a lot as a kid. I had a ton of Spider-Man comics. I still do. Spider-Man was and always will be one of my favorite superheroes, and I just loved that moment of him lifting the thing that he thought was this huge, massive hurdle. In the comic that this originally takes place, almost the entire comic is him struggling to lift this gigantic rock formation. It's literally a thing that he cannot get off his back. And the whole issue is him finding the strength within himself to lift this hurdle, to become stronger, to overcome this adversity. And in Spider-Man Homecoming, they did such a fantastic job of getting you invested in the character of Spider-Man and Tom Holland's Spider-Man. This, without a doubt, is the scene that made me go, you are Spider-Man, because he didn't have the mask on. And in that moment, it wasn't Spider-Man. It was a 16, 17-year-old Peter Parker, nervous and scared that he's going to die. And he realizes, okay, if I'm going to get out of here, I have to do it. And he hears Tony Stark say, if you're nothing without the suit, then you shouldn't have it. That's probably... Whoa, I just had the realization that was basically the whole point of Iron Man 3, was so that Tony could teach this lesson to Spider-Man in Spider-Man Homecoming. Doesn't make Iron Man 3 any better, but it makes Spider-Man Homecoming such a great moment when Peter musters up that strength of, I could still vividly recall, come on Spider-Man, when he finally lifts the object, just like in the comics. He is Spider-Man, not because of what he wears or the tech that he has, but because of the heart that he brings every single outing. It's why I love Spider-Man as a kid, that's why I love the Tom Holland Spider-Man that we have now. I like the previous Spider-Mans, but this to me, it's all the heart that Tom Holland brings to Spider-Man. It's the Spider-Man that I know and love. That's why I went so far into detail of this one, because it was the moment that mattered the most to me as a Spider-Man fan, and it just made my heart so happy to finally have that spectacular, pun absolutely intended, moment on the big screen. But it's not the best Marvel moment we've gotten so far. We still have a few more, like number 3. Number 3 absolutely set the table for the following decade to come. That is Iron Man debuting for the first time. So when Iron Man finally suits up to rescue the village that he escaped from, the game changed forever. We now have superheroes in the mainstream again. Now, we had like some famous comic book movies before this, but this changed the game of, okay, Marvel's here to play. They aren't messing around anymore. We don't have no Howard the Ducks anymore. Fox is busy making their X-Men movies. We're just sitting on our hands until now. This was a big return for Robert Downey Jr. This was his big break again, to break back into the spotlight, because before Iron Man, he was not on the best path. Marvel themselves as a film studio was not doing the best, so combining those two risky elements paid off big, and when Iron Man debuted, it set the table of, okay, things are going to be different now. This is the next 10 years, and look how far we've come. At number 2, we have probably the best fight scene so far. Not in terms of hand-to-hand, that's what I said earlier with Black Panther, but in terms of just, oh, this is a lot of fun. And that is Captain America Civil War, the airport scene. I loved this scene. Granted, it didn't have the same intensity as some other fights, like I know I said I wouldn't mention it, but the end fight of Infinity War I think was a bigger and broader and had more emotional stakes to it. However, this was just great seeing Iron Man and Cap fighting, War Machine fighting with whoever, and Spider-Man debuting. I remember hating Spider-Man in the Civil War trailer when he debuted. I thought he looked weird, sounded weird, and then I was absolutely 100% wrong when I sat in the theater and fell in love with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Just seeing his interactions with Falcon, who I think is a vastly underrated Avenger. Seeing his interactions with Falcon and Bucky. And just seeing Falcon and Bucky's interaction. Every character had such great interactions, but the airport scene was one of the best action scenes Marvel has done to date. I don't know if it's been topped yet, actually. However, that's not the best. I think you could probably guess where I'm going for number 1. But if there's any doubt, the number 1 best moment in the MCU so far is the first time the Avengers assembled on screen. You get that nice panning shot of all of them just circling, surrounded by the Chitauri. The music by Alan Silvestri chimes in here just like, oh, that moment I knew as a movie fan, this has changed the game. And every other movie studio is going, who can we assemble into a team? Universal Monsters, get on that. Failed. DC Universe, get on that, make your own team. Failed. But no one has been able to do what Marvel has done. But that single moment of, at that point, 4 years in the making from Iron Man to Avengers, of seeing the whole team together for the first time. It had never been done before, and never been done successfully since, except in basically Marvel itself. But this was the first major stepping stone to a whole bigger universe, and it was just insane to see Iron Man with Captain America, with Hulk, with everyone together. It is a huge comic book moment, and there's no denying that that is absolutely the best moment in the MCU so far. I know we have plenty more years to come and plenty more exciting moments. I'm kind of very much excited to see what we're going to get eventually. Maybe every Avenger versus Galactus? Hey, I can dream. Well, what did you guys think? What are your top 10 favorite MCU moments so far? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you see and want to see more, subscribe to the channel or find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Uncharted Media. Stay sharp, movie guys and gals.